And hello out there, Caniac Nation. Thanks for joining us for session 57 of Caniac Sessions. I'm Griff.
And I'm AB.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Sam.
And thanks for joining us tonight on your Saturday night, taking a break from maybe some college football. I just had to witness my Mountaineers blow a fourth quarter lead against Spit. So yeah, I'm not in the best mood. I'm trying to mask myself here, but I'm not too happy. Anyway, yeah, thanks for joining us for session 57. We've got a lot to get to tonight. We are going to be here for as long as it takes, at least AB and I. And we got some guests with us. We got Brandon from the Warning Take, our favorite recurring guests.
How y'all doing?
And then also Sam Wallace, which is half of the Caniac Report, another one of our favorite recurring guests.
Hello.
So we thought we'd come together tonight and talk about the roster, talk about the players, make some predictions, give some hot takes, just kind of, with the Prospect Showcase kicking off, yesterday and today, just try to get ourselves going here as camp approaches. What, next week, right?
Yep.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday? One of those days.
Thursday.
I think it's the 18th is when they start practice.
Yeah, so it's here. I mean, it is here. All of a sudden, here we go. We're off and running. So we wanted to come together tonight and just kind of feed into the hype a little bit. Before we do, how y'all doing?
I'm doing great. As you saw on Twitter, I was getting pretty upset about NC State before everything happened. So other than that, I'm doing great. I am getting ready to move. So there'll be a different layout than you're used to seeing. So
we won't see the closet door anymore.
You need to stop. Okay. I didn't design this place.
I'm just kidding. It's all good, buddy. I got a white wall behind me. So, no worries. We're good. Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good. And speaking of college football, my Tar Heels are up 17-7 at just the first half just ended.
Well, they better don't play anybody.
It's NC Central. They better be up.
I was going to say, they should be beating them by more. What I really care about starts in a few minutes if it hadn't already, and that's the Braves and the Dodgers. But
yes.
But yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good in AB. If you want any decorations, I've got a few things that I actually don't have room for on my walls that you might like.
For free, send them.
Yeah, they're for free. Yeah.
I like decorations.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I've got my healthy mix.
You.
Anyway, Sam, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I'm a Tar Heel fan too, so I'd be to see the score.
Both of you get out. Both of you get out here.
Yeah, leave.
Oh, all good. Well, before we get going here, first things first, we are brought to you by DraftKings and BetterHelp as members of THPN. That's the Hockey Podcast Network. We are also promotional partners with SeatGeek. First-time ticket purchasers can log on at www.seatgeek.com, create an account, and when you buy tickets to whatever it is for the first time, if you use promo code Caniac Sessions, that's one word, no space between Caniac and Sessions, you can get $20 off your first ticket purchase at SeatGeek.com. Take advantage of that. It helps you, it helps us, and it helps SeatGeek. All right, let's get going, guys. So we were treated, and if you paid attention, and I know a lot of us did, to the Prospect Showcase that's been going on in the Nashville area in Tennessee yesterday and today. The Canes prospects have played 2 games at this point. They played last night, 6:00, and today at 3. They came away with wins in both. Kind of slow starts in both games, I think. Well, maybe not the first, maybe not yesterday against Tampa Bay prospects, but today kind of a slow start, but man, did they finish. And they look good, and if you follow the account, the Caniac Sessions account on X, you've seen Griff's 3 thoughts that I put out the last couple of days. And that's just kind of like, I watch the game, I kind of take it in, and then whatever's going through my head, whatever that happens to be at the end, that's kind of what I share out there. So check that out. But I'm going to open it up to you guys. What's your thoughts so far through 2 days of the Prospect Showcase? And if you're like me, you know who's standing out. Some of them are kind of were expected. Some of them not so much. But just open it up for thoughts. Anybody?
Okay. I can go first if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I didn't get to sit down and watch the one today because of the thing I was dealing with my air conditioner and everything. I did catch a lot of the things that Walt Ruff was posting with the highlights and everything like that and what other people were saying. And that's how I found out about Gleb Trikazov having the hat trick and everything like that. The Hurricanes are going to have, maybe not so much this season because you've signed Roslovic, you have William Carrier, you have a multitude of guys that you know are going to make the team. In the coming seasons, the Hurricanes, for good reasons, are going to have some very, very difficult decisions to make as far as who is going to make the team and who are we going to send back. It's not a desperation thing of, okay, somebody has to be just good enough to make it. You have several guys who are good enough to make it. Felix Ungersorum, in particular, in the first game, exceeded the excessive expectations for him. I did not think that he could play at that level with that much maturity and that much on-ice awareness that he did in the first game. And I won't speak for the second one because I didn't sit down and watch it, but every little thing he did with and without the puck, away from the puck, all the intangibles were there. His skating has shown a remarkable improvement. My dog knocked over my lava lamp.
You good, brother?
Yeah, my dog knocked over my lava lamp. Luckily, it doesn't have real
Frank,
lava in
put
it.
it out.
Okay. I'll correct this real quick right after I say this, but essentially Felix Ungersorum gave me some Aho vibes with some of the 200-foot plays he was making. And to add another similarity into them, Felix Ungersorum was drafted as a winger. Yeah. And he's not grown into his full body yet. He turns 20 on the 19th, as I found out when AB was on my show with me last night. So let me make sure that there's no hot lava on my floor. I will be right back.
Right on.
I will say this about Ungersorum is that Griff, you and I have had the conversation of Nadeau probably getting the start opening night, but the way he played last night, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's on the opening night roster. I mean,
who's that? Nadeau?
Ungersorum. Because he does so well on faceoffs. Again, like last year, he was so close to making the opening night roster last year. And this guy is a 200-foot player, like Brandon said, like a Sebastian Aho, and he's young, so he's only going to get better. But last night really showed me that you may need to take into consideration starting him over Nadeau on the opening night. So that was the biggest thing that stood out to me.
Sam.
Also, I didn't watch either games, but
it's all good.
I did keep up with it. I actually watched the highlights of all the goals and all that type of stuff. And one thing I will say, the reality is that it's rookies versus rookies, so you don't want to take too much into consideration. But it's a good indication of where these rookies are at. And I think this could be the start of two prospects. To me, those two guys are Nadeau and Ungersorum, battling it out tooth to nail on who's going to get that spot. I think that one spot that's going to be open for a rookie on training camp.
Yeah, I mean, could be. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to start dishing out roster spots from a rookie showcase, but I mean, but to AB's point, Ungersorum definitely looks comfortable in his skates for sure. And I mean, the dude is good at hockey, man. I mean, and he's definitely one of the best players on the ice. I mean, that's for sure. But I think one of the things that I took away from this, the last couple of days is, and I put this in one of my thoughts today, and you maybe correct me if you disagree. Well, not correct me, but let me know if you disagree. But this is the first time in a long time where I've kind of taken a look at our prospects and thought to myself, we have a solid group of guys who could potentially be solid top NHL players in the future. And I didn't feel like that last year. I didn't really feel like that. And I definitely didn't feel like that the year before. And I mean, last year, I remember this time we were arguing about maybe Ponomarov would come up and crack the roster. Like, could he unseat Jack Drury? You know what I mean? Like, that's what we were talking about. But fast forward, 12 months, what that can do. I mean, we're talking about Jackson Blake, Felix Unger-Sorum, Bradley Nadeau, Scott Morrow, then the emergence of Charles Alexis Legault, or Alexis Legault, excuse me, Gleb Trikazov. All of a sudden, boom. You've got a ton of guys now that. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to make the roster this year, but look, 5 years from now, all those names that I just said could be every night NHLers in the Lenovo Center playing big minutes for Carolina. I mean, they could. And that's the first time in a long time that I felt like that about our prospects. We've always had a deep pool, but I didn't feel like we ever had anybody that could become a game changer at the NHL level.
Mm-hmm. And until that, go ahead.
I was going to say, and tonight I do.
To that point, this is the first prospect pool that we've ever had that I look at and say 6 of these guys, and this is not even counting Nikishin. 6 of these guys will be NHL players, impact NHL players. Now, how high their ceilings are, that remains to be seen. Like, you can kind of look at something like this and go, okay, I can see, for example, Charles Alexis Legault. I really liked this kid before, but after the way I saw him play in the first game, I was like, all right, this kid has more of a ceiling than I thought. I thought that maybe he was somewhere between high-end AHL, call-up when you need him, 7th defenseman type of guy. And then now I'm like, yo, this kid might be with Nikishin in a few years. He's that good. I took a lot of notes about him and everything. I don't see anybody, as far as the big names we've mentioned, having a ceiling any lower than being full-time NHL, or whether that's a first, second, third pair defenseman, or I would even wager to say out of all the forward prospects, they're all top 9 capable at minimum.
I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, there's more. I mean, that's just the names I rattled off. I mean, you're looking at Ronan Seeley is solid.
Mm-hmm.
Noel Gunler, he's played good. He's played well. He is, I put in one of my thoughts last night, like, since the last time I watched that kid, he has improved leaps and bounds. So, I mean, it's just, the pipeline is strong, even with the fiasco last year of not having an AHL affiliate and, all this stuff. Here we are, on the backside of all that, and it's as strong as ever. So it's a good sign. Any last thoughts on that before we move on?
I have one quick one to
Go for it.
really quantify what you're saying. Noel Gunler would have been our top prospect if it was 2014.
Probably.
And he's 8th at best.
Yeah.
That's how good that we've done drafting.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Don.
Yes, thank you, Don.
Yes.
I believe it's Darren York who is really Darren York, Eric Tulsky, and some of those behind the scenes guys. Man, Darren York is underrated as an assistant GM. Like, he really is. I don't think people realize how good this guy. I hope he stays around here. But he's gonna get noticed, and he'll be a GM somewhere in the NHL, probably within the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on here, let's get to some comments. BTS, not the band. He says, "Yellow, good to see you." He's usually hanging out with us. Glad you're here. Now that I keep saying I know what BTS means, and it's his initials.
That's right.
All right, next we've got the Troll Trades. He says, "Hey, thanks for joining us." Matthew P is back. He says, "Evening all." He also cheers, "Gleb, Gleb, Gleb." Definitely hat trick in 6 minutes in the third period of today's game.
Monster.
Amazing. And another Matthew P comment. He says, "I could see players developing from a few years. It's a testament to how good not just our amateur scouting is, but our organization's ability to develop players. It's almost time to harvest the crop." Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, all right. So what we're going to get into here, we're going to take a quick ad break. And then we're going to start going through this roster. So I've kind of identified a group of players who I consider roster locks, right? So the names in the organization that I expect 99.99% to be in Raleigh this season. And then I've identified a group of players who are kind of battling for some of these open spots that could potentially exist. And we'll talk about them, and then we're going to get into our predictions, and then we're going to just have fun for the rest of the session. So before we get into that, though, we are going to hear from our first sponsor at DraftKings. TD, Tutty, taking it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NHL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms. And we're back.
Back and better than ever.
You keep saying that, AB, but every second that passes, I am not better than ever. Like, I'm getting old, dude.
Well, you don't believe.
Believe in what? Youth? You're right.
Fair enough.
All right, so I got some slides here to kind of talk through, and we're going to go ahead and bring them up here. Sorry, Brandon, you're cut off down there at the bottom.
That's okay.
I'm hiding.
But anyway, here's our roster locks, right? So these are kind of the players that I expect to be, like we said, expect to be in Raleigh this season. No ifs, ands, or buts. And, we can go down through them. Aho, Jarvis, Fetch, KK, Natchez, Carrier, Drury, Martinook, Roslovic, Stahl, Lemieux. That's your forward group. Lemieux may be the 13th forward, but I don't expect him to do any time in Chicago. I think he's going to either be your 12th or 13th forward, whichever, one it is. But I expect him to be in Raleigh. For your defense and goaltending, Slavin, Burns, Chatty, Orlov, Ghosty, Walker, and then Freddie and PK. I don't know if you guys – I don't expect you guys would have any disagreements there. But that's kind of who I see as a roster lock. And then I've kind of got this other group of guys, and we're going to come back to this slide in just a minute, but I will go ahead and go forward. And these are the kind of group of individuals that I think could make the roster if everything, works out. They have a great camp and a great preseason. Bradley Nadeau, who we've talked about, Jackson Blake, Tyson Jost, Eric Robinson, Felix Ungersorum, Scott Morrow, Ty Smith, and Riley Stillman. I've got these three defenders down here because you never know. I mean, Morrow probably will be in Chicago, I'd say, but you never know. I mean, who knows? Knock on wood. I don't even want to say this, but an injury comes up, happens, whatever. He's right up there, and if it happens early, he could be there all year. Who knows? And then I labeled Ty Smith and Riley Stillman because if we do carry a seventh defenseman on the roster, I expect it'll either be Smith or Stillman, one of those two guys. I don't expect Morrow to be the seventh. I think they'd want to get him some playing time. But we will dissect these more, and I'll let you guys, throw in any input you have. But let's start back on the previous slide with our locks, and we'll just go down through here, and I'll read off their stats from last year. Basically their points from last year. And, we'll talk about I want you guys to weigh in on how you expect them to play this year. Do you expect them to improve, kind of fall off, take on a bigger role, like whatever it is? We'll start with Aho. Last season, 78 games played, 36 goals, 53 assists, 89 points, leading scorer for the Canes. Then Seth Jarvis, 81 games played. The only game he missed was that last one at Columbus where they forced him to sit out. 33 goals, 34 assists, good for 67 points. Andrei Svechnikov, 59 games played. And I'm going to do these in threes, and then we'll stop and talk about them. Andrei Svechnikov, 59 games played. We know he battled some injuries mid-season, and also kind of, at the beginning of the year was kind of at the back end of his ACL rehab. But anyway, 19 goals, 33 assists for 52 points in 59 games. So those three, I'm going to open the floor up. Your thoughts about these guys?
I think with Aho, to me, he's a player that I still see can get probably 100 points. I just can't.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more to give with Aho. With Jarvis, I think we're going to see another big step from him. And with Svetch, I think the big thing is to stay healthy for him, because if he can just stay healthy, I think Svetch can be probably a 80-point player.
Absolutely.
AB?
I'll say this: Sebastian Aho is the best player on this team, scoring wise, in my mind. And Seth Jarvis, he has that contract. He doesn't have to worry about being traded or anything like that. He's only going to get better. But like Sam said, Andrei Svechnikov, if he's healthy, he can turn it on. And when we first saw Andrei, in my opinion, I thought of him just as a sniper. Just that. And then I don't know if it was the Ovechkin knockout or whatever, but he's come into a form where it's kind of a power forward, a scoring power forward mix. And this is not comparing, because obviously this guy is not on the same level as Svechnikov. You look at a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, who is kind of similar build, aggressive, and can score. And honestly, I could see Andrei scoring 35 goals this year if he's healthy and he is maintaining the pace that he left off of the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing I think of when it comes to Svechnikov, I would like for them to start at training camp with him. Don't give him a stick, give him a pool noodle, and get him to stop slashing people. For first off, stop taking penalties. That's the first thing. Like, if he cleans that up, then he becomes significantly more valuable immediately out of the gate. The biggest thing that I would like to see out of Svechnikov, and it would really help, I think, if he played his offside, if he played right wing instead of left. We'll see if that happens this year. I think that you would see him get to that more 35 goal mark if he could cut to the middle of the ice and shoot a little bit faster and play his offside. Because when I look at the heat maps of where he's scoring, it's all on the traditional glove side of the goalie he's shooting at. So I would like to see him play more on that side. I know that that's a coaching decision, not necessarily a Andrei Svechnikov decision. I think he's going to ramp up the physicality this year. He had a little bit of hesitancy when he came back from the injury, which I can imagine, because that's a very difficult injury to rehab and everything. I think now that he's more removed from that, some of the hesitancy that we saw in his game is going to start going away, and he's going to start playing a more decisive game. He's going to lay the body even more. He's going to go to the front of the net and go to the dirty areas more. And when you talk, AB, you actually made a really good point about this. When you talk about a scoring or a power forward that has a scoring touch, Tuomo Ruutu was drafted by the Blackhawks, who, of course, he became a Hurricane. Tuomo Ruutu was drafted to be kind of like Andrei Svechnikov, a sniper. That didn't really materialize as much as it did at the NHL level, so he started hitting people a lot more. That's kind of what I see with Svechnikov. I do see that type of similar trajectory in careers. So I can see that happening with him. Now, as far as Seth Jarvis goes, Seth Jarvis, it's only up for him from here. Like, we've only seen, he's only scratching the surface of what he's capable of. I'd say you could probably see a 75-point season out of him if he plays a full 82 games. I really think that, especially if he spends more time with Aho. As far as Aho goes, I don't think he'll ever have 100 points, and that is not a criticism of him. It's just the way that he plays. A lot of people, he has the skill of a top 10 center. He's in that same conversation with, guys like Jack Eichel, for example. I'd say he's somewhere around that level, maybe a little bit lower. But then you go to look at how well he plays defensively. Then he has a lot more elements of someone like Ryan O'Reilly in his game. That's why I don't think he'll ever have 100 points. Now, if he could do 40 goals and 50 assists, a split roughly like that, then I would be really happy with that.
Okay, I'm sorry. That dog is going bananas. I had to cover my mouth.
Let me go walk him because he grabs a shoe when he needs to walk, and that's his way of telling me that he needs to get walked.
All right, we'll see when you get back then.
I will be right back. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries,
You're
man.
good. But I think I remember when Svech got drafted, I think he played as a right winger coming out of Russia. If I'm not mistaken.
Think he did. I think he did too.
So it may be an easier transition, like Brandon said, to go to that right wing. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm good with him staying on the left. I think my take on these three is I think we're going to see a big year out of Svech. I think this is going to be his year. He's not the ACL is behind him. He's played a season on it. He's more confident on it, and I think that was part of his problem last year is kind of the psychological effect of coming off of a major injury of that nature. It didn't look like it limited him. I mean, I don't think he played I don't think he played scared or anything, but I believe that, it was a psychological aspect to recovering from an ACL. Didn't get to work out or skate all off season much, like, not full, not like a full go. Everything he did was rehab. So, he's had a full off season after a full season after the injury. So I expect a big year from Svech. I think we're going to get the Svech we've been waiting on.
All right, here's a big thing for both of y'all because Brandon's not here. Does Svech score 40 goals this year?
I don't know.
I don't think he does, in my opinion.
I don't know if he gets to 40, but I don't need him to get to 40. If he's in the 30s and he's contributing and he's in that 70, 80 point range, that's what we need from him, and if the goals come at big moments like we need them to, that's what we need him to be. We need him to be the clutch guy when we need him to be that game winning goal. Like, when it's 0-0 halfway through the third, we need, Svech to come in and barrel his way to the net and bury a puck. Mm-hmm. We know he can do that. We know he can be that. Do you remember 2 seasons ago when every overtime Natchez was like scoring the game winners?
Yes.
That's what we need Svech to be, but in terms of
regulation.
Like a power forward, just somebody that's a pain in the butt to play against. And he is that. But we need his offense to step up as well. And I think
stop the penalties.
That too. You got to clean up the penalties. And I think Seth Jarvis, again, I agree with Brandon. He's going to take another step this year. He's going to continue his upward trajectory. I expect him to be in the 30s again for goals. 75 points sounds good. And then Aho, he could get to 100. I could see it, especially, that there's less top end talent on this team than there has been. And so, he's going to have to be the guy, or, he's going to have to be, so I think he could do it. Anyway, a couple of comments and then we'll move on down the roster here. All Canes Network joins us. He says if Svech can keep up with what he did in the playoffs, then that would be a win. Agree with that. Matthew P's got another comment. He says, I think Svech has another solid season, 35 goals, 47 assists, but I don't think he's a pure goal scorer. I think Seth Jarvis is the most pure goal scorer, and he's more likely to get to 40. I agree with that. I would agree with that.
Okay.
But, you never know. We'll see. I didn't expect Jarvis to get to 30 last year, and he did. So, moving on. And here's a big one that we're going to dive into. I guarantee. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, 79 games played last season, 12 goals, 15 assists for 27 points. Hold that. Martin Necas, 77 games played last season, 24 goals, 29 assists for 53 points. And William Carrier, 39 games played last season. He was on LTIR, I believe, up until game 1 of the playoffs.
That's what Vegas is known for.
That's right. Played 39 games. He dealt with some injuries last year, but 6 goals, 2 assists for 8 points in the full season. But the year before, in 2022 and 2023, he had 16 goals in 56 games. So I don't want to, write him off saying, oh, he only 8 points. He was injured a lot of last year. So, who knows what he really is? Well, I mean, I know what he is, but I mean, who knows, what his scoring will look like in Raleigh. We'll see. So these three, I think, I'll just kick it off real quick. I don't know how KK can't have a better year this season. Like if he has a worse year than 27 points last season, I just don't know if he can get any lower. I expect him to at least have a better season than 27 points. Because I think he's going to play more. I think he's going to get the first shot at the 2C spot. We'll see. And Necas, I expect him to have a big year too. So I don't know if he'll lead the team in points again, but he'll be. I expect him to be top 3. So your guys' thoughts?
AB, you want to go?
Oh, I have my piece to say about KK, so you go first.
Oh, okay. I have my piece about KK too, so double whammy. All right. So KK, I think this is a player who I'm not really thrilled on based on his performance last season. But is he a player that he could get to being maybe that second line center? I think it's a low maybe. The reason why I say low maybe is because whether you think he had a poor season or not, he had a terrific start to the season. So I think there's always some hope with KK to be that second line center. I don't think he does, but there is some hope there. And we'll just see how that does. He could, I think, stay at maybe 27 points just because I think there is some competition between him and Jack Drury, possibly for a second line center job for just this season. And with Martin Necas, I expect him to actually be better in his point production because if you look at this roster, the way it is right now, he's going to get more responsibility, and that's what he craves. So I expect him to have a little bit more of a reinsurgence in his points. And William Carrier, I just think that's a player that helps solidifies your bottom 6. I think he could be another Stefan Nason type of player. So we'll see how those players turn out to be.
AB, you give your thoughts. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to run to the bathroom quick.
No, you're good. William Carrier has proven that he is bottom 6 forward. However, this guy can throw his body around, and like Griff said, he scored, I think, 16 or 17 goals the year before. And this is a guy who's been on Vegas before. He's won a Stanley Cup. He knows what it takes. He knows his role. He knows what's expected. I kind of see a little bit of Brendan Lemieux, but like on a lot of steroids, because he can throw his body around and he is very good with the puck. From what I've seen last year, obviously he was injured a little bit. Necas, I expect to completely go above and beyond. It's nice for him to have that 2-year deal with some security, and know that he's not going to be traded, from my perspective. So I expect him to do better than he did last year. But Jesperi Kotkaniemi, this is the thing where a guy that was drafted 3rd overall, he played in Montreal, and I will say Montreal screwed up his development. There is no doubt about that. But you're paying this guy this much money to be the second line center, and year after year, it's just up and then it's down, and then it's up and then it's down, and you're paying this guy a lot of money for him to, underperform. And I was very surprised, especially with Jack Drury's surgence to go to that second line center, because KK last year had a hot start, but just fell off a cliff. And I was ready to trade him because I'm pretty sick and tired of the KK thing. But if he does better than he did last year, if he does well on faceoffs, again, he was very good at throwing his body around in the playoffs. We saw that. But he needs to understand how to be a playmaker and how to score. I understand that he's not going to be the guy that'll score 50, 60 points in this system. So if KK doesn't have a better year than he did last year, and it's just progress and then it just drops down, I think it's time to move on from the KK experience, because nothing's going to happen.
I agree.
I don't agree. Maybe his last chance, but he's too young to give up. Moving on here. Who do we leave off?
I think our special guest is back.
Oh, there he is.
Thank you guys very much for that. I'm very sorry.
How was the walk?
It was kind of eventful. Part of the reason he wanted to go out so bad was because one of his friends walked by the little pond there. It's a Malamute that he's buddies with. So he wanted to go say hi. And he didn't get to go out today because I was busy dealing with the air conditioning thing, so can't blame him. And then the rat dog is in here with me now too, because for some reason he won't bark when he's in. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on here. Jack Drury. Last season, 74 games played, 8 goals, 19 assists for 27 points. Jordan Martinook, 82 games played, 14 goals, 18 assists, 32 points. And Jack Roslovic, who spent time with the Blue Jackets and the Rangers last season for 59 games played in the regular season, 9 goals, 22 assists for 31 points. I'm excited to see what Roslovic can do. Playing for Rod in this system. He's kind of been up and down. He had a lot of promise in the beginning, but he really hadn't lived up to his potential, I don't think. And so I'm excited to see what he can bring to the team.
I will say this about Roslovic. It's a bridge deal because, he has a very high upside, but he hasn't really shown that. And maybe I blame Columbus for that, because they have been struggling. Didn't really see a big sample size from him in New York. So hopefully he can turn it on, because we need a guy that's a right-handed shot on the wing. And I think that with the guy he potentially is playing with, Jordan Stahl, that can help him become the scorer on that line. Jordan Martinook, obviously, glue guy. I mean, there is no Carolina Hurricanes team without Jordan Martinook. It would just feel so weird without him not being here. So I'm glad he got the term he wanted, and he got a little bit of a pay raise. And Jack Drury, Griff and I talked about before last season, we were ready to kind of give up on him because, we just didn't see anything, but he started to find his game. He's become a very solid player at a very young age, and he just got a contract to secure him up for 2 years. So I'm really happy with these 3 guys right now. Again, Roslovic, we'll see what happens. But other than that, everything seems fine about those 3 players.
Sam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Roslovic, I mean, I kind of agree with AB. I think he's kind of a project that the Hurricanes are going to try and see if he can become very good with his potential, or he might not work out. It's only a 1-year deal, so that's why I see him as kind of a project. See how he does. Definitely needed that right-handed center, so we'll see how he does. Jordan Martinook, I think he is one of the heart and soul guys, along with Jordan Stahl. And I mean, the guy, to me, he's the hardest working player on the team. Like, he works hard shift after shift after shift. I love that guy. John Drury, I think there's going to be competition between him and KK to be that second line center. And right now, I'm liking Drury over KK. So we'll see
Amen.
how that goes.
So when it comes to Jack Roslovic, I have a hard time quantifying Roslovic's game even after watching a ton of footage with him. So I don't even know if like 2.8 million was necessarily a good cap hit for him, but it is also, like we've stated here, only a 1-year deal. He is kind of a project guy. Even if he plays really, really, really well, I do not see him staying with the Hurricanes just because we have so many guys coming up. So think of this as like a project and a full season rental. Jack Drury, I think, has emerged to where he's a definitive bottom six center. And with a little bit of a scoring upside, we saw him on the penalty kill a little bit. So Rod trusts him defensively. He's going to do good things 5-on-5 as far as making sure that he's shutting down guys at the other end so that guys with that depth scoring touch like William Carrier can do their job, or if Jack Roslovic is paired with him on their line, things like that. Jordan Martinook you don't have the Carolina Hurricanes, like you said, without Jordan Martinook. It was the first trade that the current front office made, the current owner made, and it is arguably the most impactful one. He's still here till this day, and we got him for strictly Marcus Kruger. Yeah, he doesn't put the points up, but he has all the intangibles. He's a leader, and when he does put points up, it comes in bunches, i.e. we saw in the 22-23 playoffs. When he does get going like that, when he forechecks a lot, starts picking the other team's defense apart and putting a bunch of pucks on that, eventually they start going in more and more and more. Martinook gets better and more valuable as, say, a playoff series goes along, as a regular season goes along, because you need those high-energy guys that can keep hyping you up when you're like, okay, I just want to get to the playoffs and get to where the games matter even more. Martinook is that guy.
Yeah, I'm so glad we kept Jordan Martinook. I know, like, a lot of the fan base, loves to talk about top line Martinook when it happens. I get all that, but man, I'm so glad he's sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
You'd miss him if he was gone. You would immediately notice.
Absolutely.
It's like
I just
with
think
Jesper Fast.
Yeah, that's true. But whenever he plays on a line with somebody, they're better, in my opinion. They're just better.
Yeah.
And he has that charm and that leadership that just stands out.
Absolutely.
No, that's a great way to quantify him. He makes the players around him better.
He does, for sure. All right, last two on the forward list, Jordan Stahl and Brendan Lemieux. Jordan Stahl, last season, 80 games played, 10 goals, 20 assists for 30 points. And Brendan Lemieux played in 32 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, and 5 points. So Jordan Stahl, I'm glad he's still here. I think he's on the back nine for sure, maybe like hole 17. But he still brings a lot defensively. He's still very, very good in his own end on the forecheck, and and that's another one that you say, if we didn't have him, you'd miss him and you'd feel it immediately, because he plays against a lot of. I mean, he plays tough minutes every single night against the other team's best, and he does it well. So, and then Brendan Lemieux, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Brendan Lemieux, and I wouldn't not just because he goes and he beats the snot out of people, like dropping the gloves, but I think he's underrated offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 goals, 2 assists, whatever, I got it, but he's not playing a ton of minutes. And I think that, I mean, some of those goals he scored didn't like all three of them come against former teams or something crazy like that.
I think so.
maybe
Yeah,
They did.
LA and the Rangers.
Yeah, all three of them, LA and the Rangers, because the one he scored against LA, I was kind of like, wow, I didn't know Brendan Lemieux could do that.
I know.
That snipe where he just kind of held up, dragged it for a second, and waited for whoever was in net that night to open up, and then he put it right underneath the bar, and I was like, wow, okay.
I like him. I
do
wouldn't
too.
mind. I wouldn't mind seeing him as the playing on the fourth line all season. But anyway, any more comments on any of those forwards before we move to the defense and goaltending?
I'll just say this about Brendan Lemieux. I don't know why, but whenever I see him in the lineup, I get excited because I know something's about to happen. And it may be defensively or a fight or him scoring, but he's just one of those guys you like having him on the team because he knows his role and he can prove you wrong in some points. But just I'm so excited because he doesn't mess around. So that's one of the things I like about Lemieux, and I'm glad he's here for another year.
Same.
I'll say something about Jordan Stahl. His offense might take another dip, might be, but he's iconic because I think even today he's still one of the top defensive centers in the league. So
His face-off percentage is amazing.
yeah, if I put anybody on this with this roster in the center spot, my first choice would be Jordan Stahl to win that face-off. So, yep, that's just my take.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I don't know if I mean, I think he can still knock out 10 goals. We'll
He
see.
can.
Oh, yeah.
He gets those dirty goals sometimes. You never know.
Well, that's what you like.
And then every once in a while, he does some crazy stuff that you didn't know he could do with his hands. Like
that Rangers goal in the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, like where he extended his arms all the way out. And I was like, wow, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Or the home opener, too.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah.
When? The opening night last year?
Yeah.
Remind me. I don't remember.
Backhand, he scored.
That's
yeah,
right.
He roofed it.
Did he?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
And
I don't know why I don't remember that.
My dad texted me and he said, I didn't know Jordo had that in his toolkit.
Yeah.
Maybe 15 years ago, but
all right, moving on to the defense, guys. Moving on here. Jacob Slavin. No introduction needed for him. 81 games played, 6 goals, 31 assists for 37 points. Brent Burns played all 82. Active Ironman streak, still intact. 10 goals, 33 assists for 43 points. I'm just going to read through all the defense here, and we can talk about them as we see fit. Hold on.
Oh, you're good.
Do
you want me to
No, we're good. My charging cable just came loose. We're good. Jalen Chatfield, 72 games played, 8 goals, 14 assists for 22 points. Dmitry Orlov, 82 games played, 6 goals, 20 assists for 26 points. Shane Gostisbehere with Detroit last season, 81 games played, 10 goals, 46 assists for 56 points. And Sean Walker, 81 games played between Philadelphia and Colorado. Last season, he was traded at the deadline to Colorado. 10 goals, 19 assists for 29 points. So a couple things here that I wanted to highlight, and then I'll open it up to you guys. I think Sean Walker, the fact that he scored 10 goals last season and didn't play on the power play. And I think that's important to note, right? I think Jalen Chatfield opened up his offense a little bit last year. I expect him to produce a little bit more. I know everybody is on Brent Burns' back all the time, all of a sudden, because he had a bad playoffs. But the dude still scored 43 points, and he's pushing 40 years old. 10 goals. So I'm not ready to write Burnsy off yet. I'm not. A lot of people want to bury him on the third pair and take him off the power play and, start, push him out to sea, so to speak. I'm not ready to do that yet. I think he is still a very good, serviceable defenseman. You know, he is better. He's still better than, I'd say, 75% of the defensemen in the NHL. So, you know, everybody's got these high standards for our blue line, and I get it. I do. But I'm not ready to write Burnsy off yet. He's still on my top pair. I'm not ready to bury him until he 100% absolutely convinces me that he is not a serviceable defenseman and that he is a liability on the ice. Then I'm not going to write him off. And you can come at me. You can say what you want. I don't care. I will die on this hill. I love Burnsy. He is a freak of nature. He is the alpha male of our species. And by God,
Maybe
he's going
waiting for it.
By God, he is going to be on my top pair with Jacob Slavin.
I don't know. I may have to go downstairs. Something's going on with volume downstairs. But anyways, the alpha male of our species. What else can we say about him? I mean, this guy's 40 years old. Like you said, he had over 40 points. And last year, he showed up in the second best shape of any of the players. So I'm not ready to have his final sunset because I always have a soft spot for Brent Burns. But I thought about this the other day. Dmitry Orlov, in my opinion, is obviously not going to resign here. And I think that spot is going to go to Nikishin when he comes over. I wholeheartedly am sure of that. Again, Jalen Chatfield, I mean, what else can you say about the dude? I mean, just insane. Same with Jacob Slavin. Walker is one of those guys where I'm very anxious to see how he plays. I know what he's capable of because, like you said, 10 goals, not even being on the power play. And then Shane Gostisbehere, I wish we kept him. But glad
He's
now
back.
that we have him on a 3-year deal for less than $10 million. So he's clearly proven himself. And like last year, he had over 50 points. So this is a guy that you're going to have on the power play. Maybe the first one, maybe the second one. I don't know. But I am very happy, even though we lost Brady Shea. I'm very happy with Gostisbehere coming back.
Yeah, I mean, 56 points is nothing to mess with for a defenseman. And it's real quick, one more point I wanted to make before I was interrupted by Avi. I'm just kidding. Even though I do expect Brent Burns to still play that top pair, I do expect Shane Gostisbehere to run the first power play. I think he'll quarterback that first power play unit. And I expect Brent Burns to quarterback the second unit of whatever second unit that is. Maybe they'll keep the 4 forwards out there and just switch out the quarterback. I don't know. But whatever that looks like, I expect Ghosty to be playing the first unit. So go ahead.
When it comes to Burns, now in the past when Jacob Slavin's been paired with guys like Ethan Bear, Dougie Hamilton, Tony DeAngelo, so on and so forth, a lot of people stated that, oh, well, those guys have to play with Slavin because of how much of a liability they are. A lot of people say the same thing about Burns. So if that's the case, you want him to stay with Slavin anyway. I'm not saying that I agree with that sentiment. I don't think he's nearly as bad defensively as a lot of people make him out to be. I mean, I don't think any defenseman in the NHL, no matter how offensive they are, is nearly as bad as anyone says they are. It's just they play a high-risk, high-reward game, and they cough up the puck in pretty bad situations. Burns is actually still pretty good at managing the puck in places like that, or in moments like that, I should say. Yeah, he was a little bit rough in the playoffs, but this also could potentially be his last season in the NHL, and he's going to do his best to have his best season if he knows that this could potentially be it for him. Rod is not going to break up that pair, and I don't see any benefit in breaking up that pair. I really don't. The only reason I could see to potentially break it up would be to try Sean Walker out up there, but at the same time, it's kind of like the Slavin and Burns pair for the most part, except for little amounts of time here and there, has worked out just fine. Chatfield and Orlov, you saw how that pair emerged as being really, really good through the end of last season, and that's why it was okay to let Brady Shea and Brett Pesce go. As loved as those guys were here, I think that pair had kind of run its course.
Yeah.
It was going to stay where it was. It wasn't going to get any better. Whereas with who you've signed here with Sean Walker and Shane Gostisbehere, you can either go back to the pair that you had with Jalen Chatfield and Shane Gostisbehere if you need to, and then you can have another pair with Dmitry Orlov and Sean Walker if you want to do that. There's a multitude of good options here with this. I'm particularly happy that they brought Shane Gostisbehere back because we already know he's a good fit. There's no variables there, really.
Right.
We already know that he knows how to play in this system. I also agree that he'll probably bump up to power play 1. I think that would be a smart thing to do. And then on top of that, Sean Walker, even though he's not really been a power play guy before, if you need him for whatever reason, if it goes colder, you need to just change things up or there's injuries or whatever, I think he could do it. But I've seen Sean Walker described as a depth offensive defenseman, and there's not many guys that you can say that about. So I'm really glad we got him, and I think that his deal is really good. I'm really happy about them bringing Gostisbehere back more than anybody, though. So I wouldn't break up the Slavin and Burns pair. I don't see the point in it. It's like, okay, if Burns really is a defensive liability, which I don't think he is to the extent people say, why would you put him with Gostisbehere? Why would you put him with Orlov? Those are guys that need safety valves. Why, AB? Tell the whole class.
You know this.
Well, I'm going to let you say it, though, because it's your line.
It's the alpha male of our species. Plain and simple.
He'll be fine. And don't underestimate a guy who knows he could be going into the last year of his career and still wants a cup. Don't underestimate that at all.
That's that's true. That I didn't even think of that wrinkle, but absolutely. All right, we'll wrap up with the goalies here. Sam, sorry, I didn't mean Sam, your thoughts if you have any. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
I do have a few thoughts. I think Brandon made an excellent point with Burns in the fact that this is his last season, because I think the stakes are higher for him with this possibly being his last season. So I expect him to actually be just a little bit better, actually, to be honest, because of that. And I do agree. I think Gostisbehere is going to be on the first power play. I'm more interested to see how Sean Walker is because he is a new guy on his team. Is he probably going to get a rush start? Yes, but we've seen that before with defensemen like Brent Burns, for example. So I think it's probably going to be a matter of time. If Walker doesn't fit in right away, it's probably going to take some time, which is fine. Seen that before. But, I mean, Brent Burns, I mean, I don't think he was horrendous. I didn't think he was great, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and then one other thing in regards to Orlov and Gostisbehere. This time Gostisbehere, instead of coming over at the trade deadline, he gets to have camp to adapt. And he's going to be even better. And I'm going to have one more thing to say about him when we get to the bold predictions. I'm going to save that, though. Dmitry Orlov has now adapted to the system. You already know where I'm going with it.
I think I do.
Dmitry Orlov has already adapted to the system. Yeah, he had a little bit of a rough go with it, but we've seen that with, like you're saying, many other defensemen. That's not going to be an issue this time. He knows what to do from here on out. So you have a guy who is pretty well adjusted to it, going to adjust to it better because he's been here before, and then someone who played with us last season, and once he did adapt to it, and once they got him the right defensive partner in that of Jalen Chatfield, his game took off. So if Orlov starts producing a lot more, it wouldn't surprise me at all now that he's got a full season of adaptation to the system.
Yeah. All right, we'll finish up with goaltending here. Freddie Anderson, and these are in no particular order, by the way. Freddie Anderson, he played 16 games in the regular season last year. His regular season record was 13-2-0. He had a 1.84 goals against average and a 932 save percentage. Look, those 16 games that Freddie played last season were outstanding. And even, I would argue, even in the Isles series, he started off great, right where he left off the regular season. You know, I thought the Isles series started well for him, and then kind of you could tell he was tapering off at the end. Then when we got to the Rangers series, the flipping wheels fell off. And we've talked about this so many times. You know, should Rod have gone to Kochetkov? Should they have alternated? You know, whatever your opinion is, it's over and done with. And we go back and check our previous sessions where we talked about it if you want to hear that. But the fact of the matter is they didn't. And, you know, Freddie struggled. Now, my personal belief is, you know, after having an off season to kind of digest it and feel, you know, think about it. I think the workload in the playoffs was too much for a guy who only played 16 games in the regular season and was on the couch, trying to, I don't really mean on the couch, but you know what I'm saying, not on the ice for 4 months. And then you want to ride him like that through the regular season. I just don't know if he was, in shape enough to handle that workload. And that's the way I feel about it now. Before I was like, no, Freddie better not ever suit up for the Canes again. He was responsible for that series, blah, 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 blah. Well, now that I've had time to kind of reflect, I think that, again, I'm not ready to write Freddie off, but I am ready to elevate Kochetkov and make, 1A, 1B, right? I think Kochetkov needs to get the majority of your starts. And I think, if he does well, he needs to be your guy in the playoffs. Kochetkov, 42 games played last season, so he played the majority of games of all the goaltenders. 23, 13, and 4. And so that's a pretty good record given his start, because you remember he was below 900 for the first couple months of the season until Freddie went out, and then he got on that really good run. But he finished with a 2.33 goals against average and a 911 save percentage. Yeah, I kind of gave my spiel on the two, but I'm ready for Kochetkov to be the number one or the 1A or whatever you want to call him. I look for him to get 55 games this season. That's what I want to see. I want to see Kochetkov play 55 games and Freddie to kind of be the backup. I don't care what they're getting paid. I don't. It's not that much. Freddie's got a $3.4 million cap hit. That's not, he's not out here making Bob money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm ready for Kochetkov to steer the ship. So thoughts?
Sam, maybe you guys can take this one. I'm kind of quantifying something here.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think it's in the Canes' best interest to play Kochetkov more.
Hey,
at
Sam,
the same time.
Whatever you're doing to your ear, it's muffling your sound.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
So I think they should play Kochetkov more, I think, in their interest. But also, if you look at it from more from a coaching perspective, you want to play the best goalie regardless. So Kochetkov, obviously, I do think he needs to play more. At the same time, he does need to earn it. That's my take with it.
It's time to give Cooch the nod, because Freddie is not capable anymore of being that starter. And I don't mean to say that mean. He had some struggles that he could not help happen last year. And I will say that Freddie did very well in the playoffs. He did very well. There were some goals that were a little bit questionable, but you have a guy like Cooch that, he's young and he's proven that he can play well. So I think now is the time to say, hey, we have a lot of young guys on this team, and you got to trust a guy that you signed for 4 years with a total of $8 million. So now's the time. It's just a matter if Rod wants to do that or not.
Yeah. And to your point, AB, we committed to doing a retooling, a figure it out a year, whatever you want to call it. We didn't sign everybody that had previously been here. We clearly committed to taking the team in a different direction, because what we're doing is not entirely working, because we haven't won a conference finals game with this core or with this team. Like, yeah, you're going to keep the core players around, but it was time to change some other things up. And in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about the defense in particular, it wasn't a drastic change, because you brought back one guy who had already been here, and then you've got another guy who I think will be a good fit. Now, when you factor in where the goalie is going to fit and all that, if we're going to go in this direction where we're letting the younger guys start to take over a little bit here and have more of the roster spots and everything like that, you got to do that with your goaltender too. You got to start letting Kochetkov have more time. So also to your point, Griff, where you're talking about you want to see him start 55 games, I also want to see that. I think the best way to maybe go about that is by, say, the 10th, 12th game of the season, One of those two guys needs to be on a trajectory to start 50-plus games, and we need to have a definitive starter. Anderson overall was not bad. What the problem with Anderson was, and Sam, you brought this up on your show one time, and it's stuck in my head ever since, and it makes perfect sense, timely saves. We didn't get those from him. Now, as far as having a consistent goaltender at the moment, Frederik Andersen is more that guy. Having someone who will steal you a game, I think that's more Kochetkov. And with as much shot suppression as Carolina does, they make it a lot easier on their goalies than it would be in a lot of other teams. I think you need someone who's more of a game stealer than consistent. Because think about it. They go 7-8 minutes at a time without facing a shot. And then they face a shot, they go cold, and next thing you know, it's back in the net, and Hurricanes are losing 1-0 or whatever. You're more likely to face a situation like that with Frederik Andersen in net versus Pyotr Kochetkov, in my opinion. Kochetkov seems like, at least to me, that he can go longer without seeing a lot of rubber and only face 3, 4, 5 shots in a period and stop them all. Andersen seems to get dialed in if Carolina's a little under siege in their own zone. Kochetkov seems to be okay with the long periods of time where he doesn't see a shot. That's my biggest argument that I can think of to put him in to the starter role now, other than the fact that we have to know what we have with him sooner rather than later.
And my last point on this, and then we'll move on here. We'll get some comments and then move on to our next ad. But my biggest point is, if you look at these two guys, when are they at their best? Freddie Andersen is at his best when he gets plenty of rest. He gets some time in between games, right? Look at the end of the season. He went on he was like 9-0 or something ridiculous to finish the season last year, right? Mm-hmm. And he was playing every other game. He got 3 days, 4 days off in between starts. That's when Freddie is at his best. Quite the opposite. When Kochetkov is playing 3-4 games in a row, he is at his best. He's dialed in. He's seeing and feeling the puck night in, night out. That's when PK is at his best. So why not give him the brunt of the workload, get him on a roll, one, see if he can handle it for a 82-game season. You know, I'm not saying play 82 games, but for the whole season, see if he can handle the workload. And, you know, two, give Freddie rest. Then he can come in and give Kochetkov a couple nights off here and there and play well. It's a no-brainer to me.
And they play two different complete styles.
Yeah, right. Kochetkov's very aggressive. You know, he likes to play the puck, you know, or not play the puck, but he likes to be aggressive on the puck, attack the puck, right? Attack the shot. And, you know, Freddie doesn't. Freddie's more of a, you know, lay back and protect the goal, except for
Kochetkov is kind of like Tim Thomas, where he likes to like come out really, really, really far.
I think of him as Mrazek, actually, a little bit.
I will say this, and then we'll move on. A lot of NHL teams have a goaltender that will start consecutive nights and then have their backup go in. And from my perspective, Rod is the only person that does not do that, from what I've seen.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We don't really have. I don't think we've really had a true one and a true two here for a while. So, especially with all the injuries that they all take.
Mm-hmm.
A couple comments here. Bread's with us. He says PK deserves more time, in my opinion. I agree with you, Bread. All Canes Network says Kochetkov is at his best when he plays against playoff teams. He almost stole Game 3 in Raleigh, even though the Canes had no business forcing the game to overtime. Yeah, that was that stupid, crazy Panarin game winner.
Yeah,
I was so mad. But
that was cold-blooded what he did. That tip in.
But yeah, Kochetkov is big when it's, you know, when there's pressure, when the lights are brightest, that's when he shines. I mean, that's accurate. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break and get to our next sponsor, and then we'll come back and do some predictions and bold predictions. So, yeah, hang out for the second half of our show. I don't think we'll quite go to 2 hours, but we might. So, we'll be right back. This session is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like? Or is that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling? Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. You've heard me talk about therapy before and how it's benefited me personally. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. And we're back, and I don't see AB.
I see a shadow.
There he is. There's AB. I didn't. You weren't here to say we're back and better than ever. Hello, AB.
Can y'all hear me?
We can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know what just went on. I think I had my stuff turned down.
I said you weren't here when we broke from the ad to say we're better, back and better than ever.
Well, we are, but according to you, you don't believe it.
I still need to hear you say it though.
We are back and better than ever.
I appreciate that.
Look
All
at
right.
Brett's
You're
latest
welcome.
comment.
Oh, I didn't.
What?
Let me pull it up here.
Better help than it.
Oh, really? AB, you missed that opportunity.
I know I did. But Brad, he did the slam dunk.
Oh man, we're gonna steal that, Brad. We appreciate. Hey, thanks for that, Sam. You can't use that, by the way.
No.
Can't use what?
Okay,
Don't-
never
you
mind.
see the comment?
Moving on. Moving on. Don't worry about it. Move on.
You can't see the comment, Sam. Is Sam with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Did you see that comment, Sam? He's lagging, I think.
Yeah.
All right. What's up? Oh, he posted another thing.
Anyway, we'll tell him. He said, Bread says the B and AB stands for bread. Don't tell anyone.
Not quite, but maybe. Maybe now after that killer comment.
That was good. Back and
It
better
was.
help ever. Yeah, I like that. So, all right. Moving on. Sam, when you jump back in, I don't know if you've lost connection or
I'm
if you can
here.
hear it. Okay, awesome.
I can hear you. Yep.
Awesome. All right, moving on here. We are going to get into. Oh yeah, I forgot about these guys. So this is our group of people that can make the roster, and we'll just go through these real quick, and you guys can kind of give any input quickly. I want to hit this quick. Bradley Nadeau. A lot of us have suspected that he has a high chance of making the opening night roster. Jackson Blake as well. I think more so we've all assumed Nadeau because the left side isn't as jam-packed as the right side as far as the forward group goes. And Jackson Blake is a right wing and Bradley Nadeau is a left. And then we have a couple, veteran guys, Tyson Jost and Eric Robinson, who are going to fight for roster spots that, maybe we'll see one of them. Then we've got Felix Ungersorum, who's, so far in 2 prospect games has really kind of blown up all of our thoughts, but we need to, stay grounded here. We don't want to give away roster spots just by prospect games. But anyway, he has opened a lot of eyes already. Scott Morrow, who, if it wasn't for the fact that our blue line is so deep, I think he would be ready to go this year. And then a couple guys that have been around for a while, Ty Smith, who we gained from Pittsburgh in the Gensel trade last season, and Riley Stillman, son of the great, yes, Stillman, that was on the 06 Cup team, Stanley Cup champion.
That's right.
Corey Stillman. So, your guys' thoughts on any of these guys? Who's your favorite to kind of? I'm assuming that we're going to have 2 forward spots available. I think it's going to be 2 forwards and you can throw Brendan Lemieux into this mix too. As far as being the 12th forward. But what do you guys think? Who is your favorite right now, and who is your sleeper? Let's hear it.
I'll make it quick because I know we have some other stuff to get through. Unger Sorum definitely needs to be on the opening night roster. Whichever line, he needs to be there.
Okay. Sam?
I think it's between Bradley Nadeau and Unger Sorum. From what I've heard, Jackson Blake's been good too. It's just I think there's more hype around those two players.
Felix Unger Sorum, I had high expectations for him coming in, but he's already exceeded them, especially how he adapted to playing center. I know it's, it's a prospect game, so it's not the same thing as the NHL. However, right-handed shot, drafted as a right winger, and you're looking for somebody to fill in Jesper Fost's role, and I know that I originally advocated for Jackson Blake maybe to do that. I think Felix Unger Sorum maybe could do it and add a touch of offense to Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook at the same time. I'd be okay with either one of those guys getting put on that line. As it stands right now, my top two to make the team would be Felix Unger Sorum and Jackson Blake. Bradley Nadeau is a very, very close third. And it's not necessarily because I think that Bradley Nadeau fills an immediate need. But Jackson Blake and Felix Unger Sorum could also fill an immediate need of filling in the Jesper Fost spot. So that way you have your shutdown checking line figured out immediately. Then all you have to figure out is the third line, the second, or the rest of the bottom six, and then how you want to arrange the top six. If you bring either one of those guys in, you already know where you're putting them. And both of those guys also have the potential to move up the lineup as the season goes on. So it's not a knock on Bradley Nadeau. It's just in terms of like you are ready to play in a specific need right now. Felix Unger Sorum and Jackson Blake are ahead of him in that regard, in my opinion.
I'm not sure. My favorite to make the roster is still Bradley Nadeau. I'm not. I mean, in my opinion, that's just I hear you, Brandon, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but in my mind, I think it's still Nadeau. I think he's the guy that's most NHL ready.
He's a little small for football.
You're already thinking about Sunday.
They all are. Yeah, I'm headed to Charlotte tomorrow for some reason.
Oh, God. Good luck.
Me and Jeremy are going to be watching it on TV, so we'll look for you. We're probably going to regret watching it.
I don't want to drink it. I don't want to drink at 1 p.m., but if it goes the way that I think it's going to, I may have to.
But yeah, anyway, I think that I still think it's going to be Nadeau. Just my opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion off of a prospect showcase. Let's see what they do in the preseason against NHL caliber players, and then I'll be ready to make my decision. But right now, until that point, I'm still on the Bradley Nadeau bandwagon. So yeah. Anyway, we will see how it all plays out. But moving on, we're going to go through AB and I's standing projections for all four divisions and kind of see how they differ, and then let us know in the comments if you agree, disagree, what you would change. And then Brandon and Sam are going to kind of weigh in on it, tell us what they think. And yeah, let's get into it. We will start with the Metro. AB, it looks like we got the top three the same.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that Carolina is still on top of New Jersey until New Jersey proves that they are, they can be consistent for a full season. I think that, Carolina is more experienced from top to bottom. So I'm not ready to say New Jersey is going to the promised land just yet. Looks like I have Washington fourth. You have the Islanders fourth. And just let me go down through this just for the audio listeners that are listening to this after the fact. For my Metro standings, I have the Rangers 1, Carolina 2, the Devils 3, the Capitals 4, the Penguins 5, the Islanders 6, the Flyers 7, and the Blue Jackets 8. AB has the Rangers 1, Carolina 2, the Devils 3, the Islanders 4, Pittsburgh 5, the Capitals 6, Philly 7, and the Blue Jackets 8. Major differences here are AB's got the Islanders a little bit higher than I do. Basically, we just swapped the Islanders and the Capitals. So I'll open it up to Sam, Brandon. What do you think?
So I'm going to upset some of my friends that I live near when I say this, but I'm going to say it. Washington did not build a playoff team. Washington built a get Ovechkin 42 goals team. I will say that I think that they will make the playoffs and they'll be within 4 to 6 points of Carolina, who will make it in Metropolitan 3 or Wild Card 1. So, with that being said, I would say both of these are really, really accurate for the most part. I'm not trying to bet against my own team here. I just don't see Carolina going in higher than Metro 3. Just out of the simple fact of you have all these new guys that are going to have to adapt. We have no idea how many rookies are going to be in the lineup. There's a multitude of things. Like, that's the only reason that I think that they would be down there. Now, when we're talking next season, they're back at the top. But for right now, I would say they're Metro 3, Wild Card 1. The Penguins, the Islanders, the Flyers, and the Blue Jackets, you can put them in any order from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. It doesn't really matter. None of them are going to make it. So that's just what I think about it. It's going to be similar to last year as far as the Metropolitan standings go, as far as teams that actually make the playoffs. Philadelphia, they got close and they lost it in the last few weeks. I think both of these are pretty accurate. Like, they're close to what we're actually going to see.
So I agree with Brandon. I can't see Carolina being higher than 3rd because I do think New Jersey got better in the goaltending department. Now, I think Kochetkov could still be good, but that's my take. And I would say Pittsburgh goes lower just because I feel like the Islanders have a better system. And I think Washington gets better. That's just my take.
That's fair. AB, any thoughts?
Well, the reason that the Devils are 3 is because they had a really good season. And then now it's kind of up in the air. So, in my opinion, I'll say this is a hot take, and Brandon has said this before. If we look at the Devils' defensemen, we saw the NHL 25 cover come out with all the Hughes brothers. Luke Hughes is overrated.
I agree.
I'm just gonna say that he's overrated.
Yeah, so. I don't think they're any good on the blue line. I mean, I don't think Dougie battles injuries every year. I don't think Hughes is anything to write home about. Pesci, we know what he is. I mean, yeah, Pesci's fine, but I don't think he's as good as the Devils think they got. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Is he good enough to bail Luke Hughes out? No,
right. No. I don't think Pesci. I think Pesci again. I think he's on the back side. I think he's on the back nine too. I think he's got 2 or 3 good years left. I mean, just because he battles injuries too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love Brett Pesci, but I don't see him being the change that they need. And so I'm not a believer in the Devils blue line.
Yeah,
I'm just not. And they've got a ton of scoring threat, but again, they're still young. Hughes is always hurt. I mean, they lost Tyler Toffoli. Not that he did much for him last year, but anyway, I'm not sold on the Devils until they prove me wrong. And I think Carolina's better than a lot of people are giving them credit for.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that we got so bad because we lost Teravainen and Shea. Like
Gensel.
Whatever. Okay, well, we had Gensel for the back end. We were already a playoff team. Gensel did not help our standings in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think so. I mean, I think he was brought in for the playoffs, but I don't think that affected our position in the standings at the end of the regular season. So, I just think that. I mean, the core is still the core. Yeah, you lost Teravainen, but I mean, does he really move the needle? I don't know.
His replacement's already looking like he's got a higher ceiling than him anyway.
I think we got better. on the blue line. I do. I think the Walker Gostisbehere pair is better than your Shea Pesci pair. I do. I think they're going to produce more. Maybe not defensively.
I gotta
Maybe
hold
they're
my
not
tongue. I
defensively
gotta hold my
better.
tongue.
Hold your tongue.
I'm holding my tongue until we get to the
Yeah,
part.
I do.
at the end.
I think we got better on the blue line, and because I think the Orlov Chatfield pair really, really found their footing at the end of last season, and I think they are going to be amazing this year.
I hope
So our
so.
second pair is better than our second pair last year, and I know that I'm not supposed to be defending my thing here, but I couldn't help it. I apologize. I know I'm not supposed to be spending this time, but I got to. People. And I know I sound like the biggest homer in the freaking world right now.
Boo. No, sorry.
But I'm telling you guys, Carolina is not. Look, this team is still fully capable of 110 points. And guess what? There's no pressure this year. And I'm going to hold my tongue until the bold predictions here. But, man, I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. Okay, I'm done.
Well, the one thing, though, like, now I do believe that New Jersey will finish above Carolina in the regular season standings. That being said, once they get to the playoffs and they have to play against a defensively competent team or a heavy forechecking team that can pick that defense apart, they're going to get killed, or they're going to get beaten. They're going to get beaten very badly. The moment that they would have to play against if we have a theoretical second round matchup with New Jersey, or we'll say even a first round, because it's 2 and 3, right? Either way it goes.
Yeah.
Carolina in a 7-game series would turn it into a war of attrition, and that defense you're talking about would not hold up against Carolina on the forecheck.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They'll finish higher in the regular season standings because they're going to score more and they're going to win a bunch of games. One of the things that New Jersey and Washington has in common, if it's not 6-5, they're probably not winning.
Yeah.
Carolina, on the other hand, you can win low-scoring games, and if you're not winning low-scoring games, you're typically winning by 2-3 goals because you're having a really, offensive night that you have where you have more production than what you normally have with Carolina. But yeah, they might finish ahead of us, during the regular season, but in a 7-game series, my money's on Carolina all day right now.
Yeah.
100%.
And I don't think that, look, we expect Aho to be Aho. We expect Svetch to have a better year. We expect Jarvis to continue his upward trend. We expect Natchez to have a better year. KK's got to have a better year. He's just got to show up to get higher than 27 points, I think. I think, I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see how it shakes up, but man, I hope and pray that this team finishes high, and I'm just going to rub the fan base's nose in it. I didn't mean that.
Next time.
Wait until Nikishin gets here next season, and all the people who were saying, "Oh, Luke Hughes would have been your number 1 D prospect if you drafted him." And I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
All right. Sorry, we spent a little extra time on that because it's the Metro, but we'll move on to the Atlantic. Looks like, again, our top 4 is the same, AB. Florida, number 1. Toronto, number 2. Boston, number 3. And Tampa Bay, number 4 for both of us. Then 5 through 8 are different. I have the Canadiens at number 5, the Red Wings at 6, the Senators at 7, and the Sabres at 8. AB has the Senators at 5, the Red Wings at 6, the Sabres at 7, and man, AB is just has no faith in Montreal. And he's got him 8th. And I believe you had him 16th in the whole division, AB.
Well, how are they improving? I've seen nothing. Their goaltending is terrible. They have 2 really solid players that can score.
I think Montembeau's good. I do. I think he's a solid goaltender. Patrick Laine's there.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Nick Suzuki's still there. Cole Caulfield's still there. Slavkovsky's still there. I think he's going to get better. I think Montreal is. I think they're going to be higher than I think. I got them 5th. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're going to be better.
I chose Ottawa at the 5th because the goaltending has been a real problem. And now you have a guy like Linus Ullmark, who has been very good with the Bruins. So maybe that changes things. I'm not sure, but the Senators have really good talent like the Canadiens, but I would trust Linus Allmark rather than whatever his name is, over the Canadians because and then
Montembeault.
whatever. The 6 again, I
You'll know
agree
that name at
on,
the end of the
and the
season.
Sabres, they're slowly getting better. Not big steps at all, but they're slowly getting better. Like tiny, not like huge steps, but just a little bit, just a
I think they
little
got
tiny
worse.
bit.
I think they got worse. All right. Oh, we'll open it up. Hold on real quick. Comments. All Canes Network. Markstrom won't bail out the Devils as much as people think. Chekhov was beating Markstrom 9 to 10 times.
110%.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah, I think Markstrom, well, he's got to be. He's like 36, isn't he?
Yeah, he's only got 2 years left on his contract too, I think. So
Montembeault just needs a little more time in the show, and he'll be a force for sure. That's what Brett says. Brett, I'm with you. I like him. I do. All right, Sam, Brandon, what you got?
go ahead, Sam.
So here's what's interesting. I kind of agree a little bit with AB on his positioning with Ottawa than Griff does, mainly for the reason that I think Ottawa is kind of in the same place that Vancouver was at the beginning of last season. I think they have a good goalie in Allmark. I think Tim Stutzle can be like an Elias Pettersson type of player. And I really have really good things to say about Ottawa. And honestly, I think Boston, I could see them falling just because I don't think they're as good of a team anymore, in my opinion.
I've said that for like 3 years, man.
I just hate Jake Gensel, so that's why they're
I
in
know.
4.
I've been saying that for 3 years about Boston, and then they go off and break like a freaking all-time record of points in the season. Like, I don't know. I've learned not to bet against Boston in the regular season. Maybe not the playoffs, but
Well, when they had that historic season, they lost.
well, I know. I'm just saying. Like, I thought they were going to be. I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team that season, and they went ahead and won the President's Trophy. So that's all
true.
I'm saying.
So the teams you have in the top 4, I think, really good. I mean, I could see Boston falling off a little bit. I know that I have also said that for about 3 or 4 years in a row myself. Griff, I have to agree with you where you put Montreal at. I do think that they got better. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think that it's going to like come down to the last couple of weeks before they're mathematically eliminated. Detroit, I could actually see finishing 5th this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've got they're kind of like Carolina is without the relatively experienced core. They got a lot of young good players like Lucas Raymond. So I could see them taking another step. Ottawa, I could see them around 5th or 6th. Buffalo is going to finish dead last. Buffalo is going to be so bad, they're going to have to come up with a 33rd spot in the standings to put them there. So I think Kevin Adams is doing an excellent job being the inside threat that got planted there to ruin the Buffalo Sabres. He needs to keep doing that.
It's been like that for years.
Yeah, Kevin Adams is doing his job. So it's like they're going to be last. They're going to do the same thing they've been doing for years. They're going to start out really well. They're going to say that Tage Thompson is the best hockey player on the face of the planet, which he's really good, but he's not that good.
Yeah.
I would rank him in top 20 centers easily, even on a bad night, but he's not good enough to carry that team with as bad as they are with when you're talking depth and when you're talking on the blue line. Rasmus Dahlin is very overrated. I will die on that hill.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he is. They said he was going to be the next Nick Lidstrom. He's nowhere near it.
Okay, well then that's easily overrated.
I don't
To that dude.
I would not replace a single defenseman we have with Cap aside with Rasmus Dahlin. Dead serious.
Yeah, I'm not on.
I just don't see what the big deal ever was about him. Not saying that he's not good, not saying that he wasn't worthy of being picked first overall, but I would not take anybody off of our current blue line or the 2 guys we lost over Rasmus Dahlin. So, and that's who their defense is built around. So that's just me. But other than that, really good list here as well.
All right, moving on to the Western Conference and the Central Division. This is, I think, where we had the most difference, AB. So my list is number 1. I've got Nashville winning that division. I've got Dallas number 2, Colorado number 3, then Winnipeg number 4, Utah, number 5, but battling. I think Utah's going to battle till the end for a wild card spot, but I think they're going to come up short. And I got Chicago in 6. I think they're going to get better. I think the second year of Bedard is going to be better than the first. And I think Chicago improves and finishes 6th. I think St. Louis 7th, especially with they just announced they have who was the injury?
Torrey Krug.
Yeah, out for the season. That's a big blow to them, I think. And then I've got Minnesota last because I just don't know what Minnesota is. Yeah, Kaprizov is still there. He's still a great player, one of the best forwards in the game. But you know, I don't believe in their goaltending. They still got Gustafson.
Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's decent.
Pretty sure.
He's decent so far, but we haven't seen him take a heavy workload yet. And I just don't know about Minnesota. I'm not, you know, maybe they deserve to be a little higher. I don't know, but I've got them 8th. AB's list: Dallas number 1, Colorado number 2. Then he's got Minnesota as high as 3, Winnipeg 4. Then he's got Nashville in 5th, missing the playoffs potentially.
Wild card.
Or wild card. So you're assuming both wild cards come out of the Central.
Yes.
And then he's got Utah in 6th, St. Louis in 7th, and Chicago in 8th. So we'll spend a little less time on the Western Conference, but open it up for thoughts.
Sam, I was going to ask you actually to take this one first because this reminds me a lot of the conversation you and the other Sam had when you did your Western Conference standings predictions, because y'all had kind of some similar differences regarding Minnesota and Chicago on your show, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, so with Minnesota, I mean, I really do think they have one of the best goal scorers in Kaprizov. And I mean, I do like Gustafson as their goalie. But I mean, to me, I think their D is good and their forward group is good. Maybe their goaltending could be a little bit better, but with Gustafson, maybe. But the reason why is because, I mean, you have on the forward group end, you have Kaprizov, you have Matthew Boldy, and on D, you have Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin, and there was a huge breakout player that they had in Brock Faber.
He should have won the Calder.
Yeah, he won the Calder.
I'm going to die on that hill. He should have won the Calder. I knew Bedard basically was. Yeah, he should have won the Calder. Bedard basically had that already engraved on his name, or that engraved on the trophy.
Yeah,
Bedard won the Calder on draft day.
Yeah, and I'm like
trolling over him.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, like anybody who watched how well Brock Faber played as a rookie, playing what, if you ask me, is a more difficult position than what Connor Bedard was asked to do. Brock Faber should have won that trophy all day. I will believe that until the day I die.
I just think they have really good forward group and really good defense. Do I think they're top 3? Maybe not, but I think they're at least a wild card team in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though.
Excuse me. All right, sorry, I was writing something down. Okay, so I think it could go either way in terms of Dallas winning the division. I think, in my mind, they're the favorite. That team is incredibly deep. They're a lot like Carolina. I remember us talking last year. We thought that could potentially be a Stanley Cup final matchup, and a really good one at that, between Dallas and Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to see that at some point in the future because, you know, imagine a series where it's Wyatt Johnson versus Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin versus Esa Lindell, Miro Heiskanen versus Brent Burns, to compare some roles. I would love to see that. Jason Robertson's really good. Thomas Hartley. There's a lot of growing household names in Dallas. I think that they will win the Central Division and probably the Western Conference overall. That's what I think. My pick right now to come out of the West for the Stanley Cup Finals is Dallas. Colorado, I think that they'll hang there somewhere around 2nd or 3rd. Here's where I have kind of a hot take. I don't think Winnipeg's going to make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I just don't see it happening. I see them selling at the end. Nikolai Ehlers, Raleigh has really good weather.
Yeah, for sure.
Minnesota, I think, and Brett wrote something about, and he mentioned Matthew Boldy. That's another good thing to mention with Minnesota. I can see Minnesota coming in fighting for wild card 2 until the end, but in a couple of years, give Minnesota about 3 years, they're going to be really good. Chicago, I think that they'll be 7th at best. Utah, I think, is going to surprise some people and also fight for wild card 2 right up until the end.
Curious what your thoughts on Nashville are.
Nashville opened themselves up a narrow cup window for about 2 years, I would say.
Yep.
And I think that they will be either second or third. If I had to pick the top 3 right now, and in no particular order, Nashville, Dallas, Colorado. If I had to put it in a particular order, I'm going to say Dallas, Colorado, Nashville, within 6 points of each other.
I would just say that Nashville, yes, they got better player-wise, but you don't know how that's going to work. Yes, you added Steven Stamkos. I know you do. Brady Shea and Marchessault. You don't know. I mean, those are really 3 good guys. You have Forsberg as well, but then Yossi and then Saros.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a team game. It's not just signing really high-end guys and going to be number one. I mean, Dallas deserves to be at the top. They have been knocking on the door for so long, and Colorado is Colorado. They always will be, especially with Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. But they're also having some missing pieces with Landeskog and I can't remember the other guy's name. It sounds like Nikishkin.
No, it's
Valeri Nichushkin.
Nichushkin. Yeah, and Minnesota has always been a sleeper team. Like, you don't really hear a lot about them, but they'll always creep in, and they're a dangerous team. You know, they're obviously not high flying and everything. I just don't see Nashville being in the top 3.
You remember last year, Minnesota was pulling their goaltender in overtime to try to get.
That was one time.
They were trying.
One of the good things that actually came from, I know a lot of people are upset about us losing Brady Shea, but the Eastern Conference has been significantly better than the West. All the signings that Nashville did kicked off the Western Conference arms race. That is really good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is going to be incredibly good for us. Give it 2 or 3 seasons and all these all these high-end free agents, they're all going to go out west. That's going to be the teams that have the money to pay them. That's going to be the teams that are trying to build to get better, to play against teams they play more often than the teams we play more often. So they did us a favor, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm on the Nashville bandwagon. I think, not as a fan, but I think they're going to be a Western Conference final team. I don't think. Well, we'll get to who I think is going to be the in the Cup final, but I think Nashville is going to the Western Conference final.
Next one.
Moving on to the Pacific. AB, we match. So
I just saw that. Okay.
One thing we agree on is the Pacific Division. So I'll read down through them here. Number 1, Vancouver. Number 2, Edmonton. Number 3, Vegas. Number 4, LA. Number 5, Seattle. Number 6, Calgary. Number 7, Anaheim. And number 8, San Jose. I think Vancouver's really good. I think Edmonton's really good. You could swap those however you want. But I think that Vancouver. Now, let me put a little asterisk on this. Okay. If Thatcher Demko is healthy.
Yes.
Right. Now, if he's not, then I may change this. But they've got a backup. What's
I think it's Casey DeSmith is their backup right now.
No, it's that DeSmith got hurt last year, and they had this kid come up. He was their third goaltender. He came up and played really, really well and almost stole them that series. Do you remember who was it?
Let me look. I'm gonna do some stuff
here. It's like Shilovs or something, or
Artur Shilovs.
That's him. Yes.
It took me because the reason I didn't say anything at first is I kept wanting to say Arturs Urban. I'm like, no, not him. I knew that there was an Arturs in there. I just couldn't remember the last name.
It
was just, it was in there. And I was like, yeah, that's it.
He's really good. And I mean, I'm not saying like,
is he still with the team?
Yeah, he's an
RFA.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe he's not an RFA this year, but I think he's young enough. I don't think he's a unrestricted. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I need to look that up. So, but anyway, yeah, if Thatcher Demko's there, I don't see why I like him over Stuart Skinner in Edmonton. So
Ronta got an offer from Vancouver to training camp,
Yeah.
and he said, "No, I'm not interested."
Yeah, he's
I saw
it
that.
looks like he's going to go play in the Czech Republic, where he would
Yeah.
actually. It would be a lot easier for him. It's a
Start.
lot less travel, a lot less games. He could be a starter.
yeah, I saw that. All right,
wish
so
that
our
guy all the
last
best, though.
slide that we're going to move to is our Stanley Cup final predictions and our Cup champion. You ready for this? Here we go. So unfortunately, and it hurt me to do this, it really did. It hurt me so bad. But I think the Rangers are going to be the Eastern Conference champions this year. I think they're going to take another step from last season. I think they're going to figure it out, and Igor is a god at times. So I think that's enough to carry them into the Stanley Cup final for the East. I think Edmonton had learned a lot from last season. I expect them to repeat as Western Conference champs. And I think Edmonton gets it done this year. I think, Draisaitl's back with that big contract. McDavid's still McDavid. Stuart Skinner seemed to get better last year. And I think they have enough. I think they're deep enough and heavy enough at the top, obviously. I think this year they actually get it done. So Edmonton's my Stanley Cup champion this year. AB, walk us through yours.
I'll say Florida is the best team in the Eastern Conference, probably the NHL. I just really can't see New York overcoming that. And Dallas, they've been knocking on the door for a very long time. And I think this is the year. Again, Dallas lost Joe Pavelski, even though, he wasn't the guy that he used to be. He was a guy that you can rely on in front of the net. And this is going to go down to 7 games. And I think Dallas has a better defensive team and a little bit more depth, in my opinion. And I think Dallas takes this in 7 games.
I thought you were about to say Dallas takes it in 4. I was about to be like,
No. No.
All right. So that's it for our standings predictions. And now, what happened? Where'd Brandon go?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
What'd you do?
I didn't do nothing. I'm not
There
even
we
touching
go.
my
No,
keyboard
not you.
for
I'm
about.
talking to Griff.
Oh, okay.
There we go. All right. So now we're going to finish this up. We got about 9 minutes left, 8 minutes until we hit our 2-hour mark. And I just said we weren't going to go over 2 hours. So we are going to give some bold predictions. And we'll talk about them until we hit 2 hours. So I'll go first. My 2 bold predictions. Number 1, and the reason I'm saying this one is because I did listen to Caniac Report the other day, and I heard them talk about how they expect Carolina to get off to a slow start this year on the Western Conference, or I'm sorry, not the Western Conference, but the State Fair road trip. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't know if I agree with that. I think, less pressure than last year. I think there's a lot of pressure on the team last year to come out and perform from the get-go. And they don't have that pressure this year. So, and there's not as much change on defense that we need to work through, like the Orlov trying to figure out where to slot in D'Angelo and all that crap they were going through. And I think goaltending is going to be better from the out the gate than last year. So I think this team is going to start 7-3 in October. I think that Carolina will finish October 7-3. That's a bold prediction. My second bold prediction is Carolina will meet the New York Rangers in the second round of the playoffs. That is going to happen.
Who is breathing so heavily into their microphone?
Carolina is going to beat the Devils in the first round of the playoffs and meet the Rangers in the second round again. That's my second bold prediction. So whoever wants to go next can.
I'd like to wait until last because I'm going to upset some people.
Go ahead, AB.
I really don't have any, to be
Oh,
quite honest. I really don't have any.
Okay, then I'm going to give another one since AB doesn't have any.
Okay.
Seth Jarvis finishes top 5 in Selkie voting. Sam, you got any?
Yes, I do.
Let's hear it.
I think Bradley Nadeau makes the roster and he gets 20 goals.
Ooh,
I would be
that's
very
bold,
happy about
son.
that.
Yeah.
That replaces
That's-
Steph Nason's production.
Yeah.
Damn right it does.
Got any more?
And I would say my next prediction is the Hurricanes are going to finish with 100 points.
100 points. All right.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
Wait. We gotta,
wait.
let's get this comment real quick. All Canes Network says Seth Jarvis will finish with 40 plus goals and will lead the league in power play goals. That's bold as hell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he can do it. He's absolutely capable of it.
I would agree with the 40 plus. Like, I would say that 40 plus is attainable. I don't know about leading the league in power play goals.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
That's going to be rough.
And now,
All right,
the
Brandon.
moment we've all
floor
been
is yours.
waiting for.
Which one should I do first? The one regarding a defenseman or the one regarding a center? Because you already know what my two are.
A center.
Any of
Let's
them.
hear it.
Jesperi Kotkaniemi will have 50 points and score a significant goal in the playoffs.
I like it.
Now, you got to admit, I tempered myself because I said 60 on another show that we did.
I'll take it. Let's do it. I'll take
You
it.
okay, AB?
I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
It could happen. I think it's more likely to happen than not. Let's go.
Shane Gostisbehere is going to blow Brady Shea out of the water. Everyone's going to forget about Brady Shea.
18 goals.
I'm telling you. It's not even just a points thing. It's like there were some really good, like the first time Gostisbehere was here, he made some really Slavin-esque type defensive plays where he left his feet and everything. He's not as physical as Shea, but as far as having a two-way game, especially since he revitalized his career in Arizona before he came to Carolina and then went off to Detroit, I think Gostisbehere all around is a better player, but he's definitely a better producer than Brady Shea. Everyone who's upset about Brady Shea being gone, they're going to forget about him by middle of December. You're going to be like, I'd rather have Gostisbehere, and you're paying him half as much.
100%.
So I don't know which one of those takes is hotter, but probably the KK one. But
yeah,
yeah, no,
I agree with
better
you.
than Shea.
I agree with you. I do. I think Gostisbehere is better too. Give him a full season here.
Yeah. Hell, just camp alone is going to be big for him.
Yeah. Well, we will see. I like him. I like all the takes. I like the bold predictions. And we'll just leave with this. I really do believe we are in for an exciting season. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team. We're going to learn a lot about the coaching staff. I think, years past, we've had really, really good rosters. And, the coaches just don't screw it up, right? But this year, coaching is going to play a bigger role in the outcome of the season, in my opinion, than in years past. So, especially for the offensive side of the house. So, we're going to learn a lot about the coaching, about the new general manager. We'll see. The trade deadline could end up being very interesting, depending on how we're positioned around February. We're going to have some cap room. We haven't used it yet, and unless we use it between now and then, we're going to have plenty to, potentially make a splash at the trade deadline. So new management, but, the owner's still the same. It's still Tom Dundon. So who knows? Storylines to watch, I think, are the trade deadline, approaching the trade deadline, how they're going to use their cap space. I think a storyline to watch is the Kochetkov-Anderson battle, how that's going to shape up, what the coaching staff will do there. And then, our emerging rookies and some of the new veterans that are signed to this team, who's going to get waived, who's going to be put down to Chicago. This is all stuff to watch. We will continue watching Felix Unger-Sorum. Jackson Blake, Bradley Nadeau, Gleb Trikazov, all these guys that have, shown themselves in these last 2 prospect games. We'll continue watching them develop. I'm super excited for preseason this year, more so than I've been in the past. I'm so excited to get, watch these guys play in the preseason. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll open it up for any last comments.
Just enjoy the ride. Just have fun with this season. It's like you get to get a sneak peek of what the next big cup window is going to be like this year. It's like we have nothing to be upset about, really. And if it was like, oh man, we're at the end of our window and everybody we signed is 30 years or older, then sure, be worried about it. If we had no top prospects, be worried about it. But this is just one of those things, like, regardless of how far the team goes, we have nothing but good things to look forward to.
Absolutely. Sam, last thoughts?
I think this season's going to be interesting because I think it's a lot more wide open than, especially at the beginning of the season, than it was last season. We kind of knew what the roster was going to be from day one. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm still going to comment on what my co-host Sam Driscoll said. Even if we do take somewhat of a step back, it's going to be 2 steps forward because we're going to have lots of cap space the following season.
Absolutely. We've covered that as well. All right. Well, Sam, we appreciate you joining us. That's Sam Wallace, half of the Caniac Report. You can find them at the Caniac Report on X. Check them out wherever you get your podcasts. They've got a website. You can find everything through their X account. So check them out there. Brandon from The Warning Take, he is at The Warning Take on X and YouTube as well. I'm sure that if you know who we are, you know who they are. So we appreciate everybody's support out there, all you listeners. AB, I will give you the last thoughts, and then you can take us home, buddy.
Thank you so much for listening and watching session 57 of Caniac Sessions. If you haven't already, follow us on all social media platforms: TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, at Caniac Sessions. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the like button, comment, and if you don't want to miss any of our live streams or videos, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Again, you can follow us on any streaming platforms at Caniac Sessions. If you want to keep up with Griff personally, you can keep up with him on X at M_Griff10. And if you want to keep up with me personally on X, you can follow me at AB Caniac Session. Thank you so much for listening and watching session 57. And we will see you in session 58.
Bye.